actually did more today than had he practiced with us. So he's doing some strength and some conditioning stuff, and we just can't do all of it in one day. So that was the key piece, and then he got out for the special teams.
You guys have seen it both ways the last couple of years. Sometimes you're going right from one series to another. Sometimes you have a little gap like you did here. How have you learned to maybe maximize this time when you have a couple practice days, have a couple rest days for the team?
The schedule kind of tells you what to do. The positive is we have a history now together of a whole bunch of different ideas, long blocks, playing the next day. So there wouldn't be any surprises for our players in how the days would lay out. It's kind of as soon as that first game gets scheduled, everybody pretty much knows what we're doing. So we would early on prioritize rest, and then on the back half it prioritize prep.
And back to Matthew, I mean, how much does this extra time you had after winning the series in 5 kind of help get Matthew closer to 100%? And I mean, how much would it help to have all 3 of those top lines being able to kind of play the minutes that they should be playing in that series?
Well, it'd be critical for any team to have their best players available. I felt in the last 2 games that I didn't monitor anything Matthew did. I didn't. And maybe even the last 3 games, really the first 2 games of the series were the only time I was a little bit careful with minutes. So I really don't think about it behind the bench now. Having everybody healthy is highly unusual and not to be expected. So we just kind of roll with it.
I feel like I asked you something similar before Tampa, so pardon my lack of imagination, but why does this team enjoy Game 1 on the road? It just, you've always seemed comfortable in that place. What is it about this group that makes it comfortable in those situations?
I think especially as you move on in the playoffs, it's nice to get your team together with far fewer distractions. The market of Toronto changes that a little bit, just there's so much exposure. But as this goes, you got more family coming in, there's more distractions, but you can get your hockey team on the road. It's a great kind of, more so, you do those things during the regular season, or team bonding trip, or you try to add some in. They're almost contrived. This isn't, right? Everybody, you're single focus on what you're doing. You get everybody together. They spend more time together, so it keeps their minds right. And then we've never been a heavy match team. So, and I think you see that more with teams that have a defined checking line. There's an advantage at home that you lose on the road, so there's a bigger disparity. It does change the way you run your bench, the roles, the amount of minutes they play. We pretty much, what we do at home is pretty darn close to what we do on the road, so there's not much change for us.
To kind of keep with that, Evan Rodriguez just told us that when you guys go on the road, guys spend a lot of time together in the lounge. They have a team meal together, all those things. Is that player driven? Or, I know it's probably organized by somebody, but the fact that they enjoy being around each other, even in that situation, is that driven by them? That's
what drives it. So you have your agenda. You have your team meals on certain nights, that. And if you got a close group, and this is completely natural and truthful, they have to like each other to want to be around each other. And if they are, they're all hanging out together, so it's great. And we have that here.
And with that, Maurice, I know a lot of your forward group, when you guys are at full strength, you have your pod, your groups that you keep together. With him being one of the guys who you move around when you need to make a change.
We're talking about Evan?
Yeah, about Evan. Yeah, just his ability to move up and down, and wherever you need him, it seems like he's able to mold his game to wherever you need him to. Just the value in that.
It's an incredible value, but for it to work as well as I think it does, the players that he goes and plays with have to believe it would work. So you're not taking a player who's necessarily the weak link and saddling him with 2 guys. The final last year, I believe he was our leading scorer, point producer in that with Matthew and Sam. But he's also spent time with Barkov and Reinhardt, and they've had great success with it. And he's been over on the right side with Lundell and Luosterainen, and that's really got their line going at times. And I think the biggest one for me is the way he's handled playing on the 4th line. It, in some ways, has been great for him because it really frees his game up to be It gets them back to just the basics of the game, so it's kind of a great reset for him. But that is only true because of his team character, and those guys on the fourth line would play him feel that he loves playing there with them. He's not sitting on the end of the bench pouting because he's playing on the fourth line. Because that, like, what does that do to the other two guys? He really doesn't want to play with us. He's sour because he's not playing in the top line. But he gives nothing of that. He gives the opposite. So the players that he plays with have this experience with him of success, and that's why he's so valuable.
Paul, I wanted to ask, looking back at 2023 when you guys played Toronto, the core guys are all the same for both teams, but how much different is this series just based on the changes that both teams made? I mean, Toronto's is obvious in goal, but you guys have made so many changes.
Yeah, it's completely different. There's no value of any history with that other than we learned in game 4 of that series what it's like to go into a clinching game and try to hope out a win. And so we've carried that lesson forward with us. I think we learned that, but all the other players have completely changed. They've also had a fairly significant style change in their game with their coaching change, and then it was still our first year here, so we've had a style change too. It's just we've gotten to it over time. They've had a significant change. We got completely different. Half our teams are different, so there's not much at all to be used from that series.
And some previous coaches here have been horse racing fans. I was wondering if you enjoy the
tonight.
ponies and there's a big race today.
My wife paid her way through university cleaning horse stalls, so she's a big horse fan. So we'll be watching and cheering for the Viola family with Sandman today. It'll be a big day. We won't miss that.
Coach, I know the regular season doesn't always indicate how a playoff series is going to play out, but one thing you guys were able to do this year for the most part is keep Matthews, Nylander, Marner in check. What is the key to making those guys uncomfortable and disrupting what they want to do out on the ice?
So there's two parts almost to that question. I think the first time they came in there, they had 6 guys out of their lineup. So that there's no value in that. It wasn't their team. And then a version of that happened with us toward the end. We had some key guys out. So the regular season doesn't tell you anything. The key is that you're not shutting anybody down. So I got asked the question last series about shutting down Kucherov, and I think he had 5 points in 4 games. It just happened to be assists. So we're shutting him down, right? He had 5 points in 4 games. We're not getting anywhere near him. You're not. The greatness of these players, like the top end in the league, and they have top end players in this league, is that there's no need to try to be funny. We're not fools. We have a plan. Everybody has a plan for Sam Reinhart's 57 goals last year, except he ended up with 57 goals. Kucherov's league leading year. You're not stopping them. We're not stopping Matthews. We're not stopping these guys. They've just proven over their career they're going to generate. It's the volume. How much do you give? How much do they create? And I think at the end, you would say maybe that's the point. They're all going to generate offense. The question of whether you're successful or not is how much you give them on top of that. How many power plays you give? How's your discipline? How much chance trading do you do in a game? So they're getting theirs. They always have, always will. But how much you feed them on top of that is probably the deciding factor.
There's the Hagel hit and the Ekblad hit, and we hate them and they hate us and all that stuff in round 1, and then there's the handshake at the end of every series.
And it's real.
And how much over 30 years, you've been through a lot of them, I'm sure there are some you've enjoyed more than others, obviously, but we just don't talk enough about that moment. Why is that so important to this sport?
Because it was true. In that line with Tampa, that was a nasty series. It was exactly like the second Boston series. It went from being heavy to being nasty. And it really wasn't even, I mean, I understand why those hits are points. It's actually all the other stuff. Like that game too, there could have been 30 penalties called. It was behind the scenes ugly. And then here's a little bit of my complaint. I don't think the coaches should shake hands with the players. when this whole thing started, I don't know where it changed, probably in the last 10 years, but the coaches would come off the bench, shake hands, and then they'd leave. I don't know, somewhere some coach wanted to get on camera. The way you got down there and got in the line. Now, if you don't, you get roasted for it. You're being disrespectful, so you got to go out and shake a bunch of sweaty dudes' hands. But you wear a suit to the game. But those guys, when the battle is real, like the intensity of it, the meanness, and you got two guys crossing paths that have been trying to do harm to each other for somewhere between 4 and 7 games. And the handshake's legitimate, and it's real. And that's a part of the great story of our game, that they can do that. And just in the quality of the comments from the Tampa Bay Lightning players, really, I thought there was, especially their leaders, a great amount of integrity in that, and almost a lesson for me. Like that was pretty good, really good. I'm really impressed by the things that they said in that line.
So you'd rather just go shake Coach's hand?
That's the way it should be. The coaches, we wear suits. That's why you'll never hear me say, "Yeah, we're going to get that guy." I'm wearing a suit. I'm not. There's nothing that I'm going to say that I will ever have to answer for from a player, right? So, the coaches just. But I'm not going to change that now because it would be viewed as completely disrespectful if you didn't do it. So, stay with your own kind. All the suits, right? The guys in tracksuits, they can do their thing. The guys in suits, and then the players are. That's special to me. That should be just the players.
Do you enjoy it though? I mean, now that you have to do it?
No,
You don't?
for that reason. It's like one player in the line could easily say to me, "What are you doing here?" And I would say, "You're right. I have no business being here, but I have to." It should be just, that's how I feel about it.
We've seen, though, coaches have moments with players, though, right? I
Well,
mean,
that part's right? That's real. And maybe that's, ex-players, I think you would make comments of how much you've enjoyed watching them play over the years, and those would be true. That can happen in the hallway after. It doesn't have to happen. I just don't think the cameras should be on the coaches. I think it should be on the players. They're the guys who win, lose, suffer, go through pain, fight for their teammates, take hits. They do the real work. We just drink coffee and swear. It's basically what I do for a living. Okay, see you guys.